Hi, and welcome to the October Oh So Inspired collaboration hop that's hosted by my friend Call Me Crafty Al. To find all of the participants in the hop, use the hashtag that's on the screen. If that stops working, there are also links to each of the channels in my description box, or you can head over to Call Me Crafty Al's channel and she will have a playlist. We find an inspiration piece from somebody on social media each month and use that as a springing off point to create a project of our own. The hopes of this hop is that it inspires you to create as well. So if there's something that inspired you along the way, use the hashtag #IWasOhSoInspired when you post to social media so that we can find your projects as well. Here's a look at the project that inspired us this month. It's from Amy. It's a beautiful, clean and simple coffee card. You can see that she has some beautiful teals and browns in her card. The coffee theme and the clean and simple really was the springing off point for my card today. And I will link all of Amy's social media in the description box below so that you can find her card and her projects as well. Here's a look at the stamp set I'm using from the Greetery. It's a layering stamp set, coffee themed, as you can see. This is the product key, so it does have all of the numbers that correlate with the stamps in this stamp set, showing you which layers should go where. It's absolutely beautiful, perfect for fall or winter. It would make a beautiful Christmas stamp set as well. I'm using it, as you can see, for fall. There are straws and cinnamon sticks. There's some foliage, and then of course there's an apple and an orange. I'm going for that clean and simple look, so I am not going to be doing any masking. That is definitely the simple part for me. I'm not a fan of masking. I do it on occasion, but if I can get away with not doing masking, I am going to make my card that way. I have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of accent opaque cardstock. I'm stamping my first layer using Catherine Pooler's Twilight ink. As you can see, it is etched glass. It is not a full glass. There are openings on this glass, so the artist took liberties by not completing the entire glass with lines. I'm going to add my first layer, and when you're working with this stamp set in particular, you want to start with your lightest layer first, because this is actually going to be, for lack of a better term, it's going to be more like a cream underneath. So I started with Sandcastle ink and stamped it twice. That is the most solid of the 3 layers that I'm going to be adding to this etched mug. This second layer is going to actually be my coffee or my hot chocolate. You choose what you want it to be. For me, it's going to be a mocha cappuccino. So I'm using macchiato, oh no, I'm using over coffee ink, stamping it twice to get that depth, and then I will add a shadow dot, a shadow stamp to the left hand side, and I will ink that with the macchiato. Because I'm going to add whipped cream to the top, and because this is a glass mug, the line at the top I think is optional. I think if you left that line off when you were doing your inking, that the composition or the cup would still flow really nicely. If that line bothers you, then I just wouldn't ink it up, but you know, it stands to reason because it is a clear glass that you would see the edge of the glass and the whipped cream underneath. I wanted to go with this buttercream. I think it's a really beautiful vanilla color. I was going for more of a pumpkin spice whipped cream, so I did stamp it twice, giving it a little bit of that darker appearance. And then we need to add the layers. And so these lines right here with this stamp are really going to give the movement to that whipped cream. I used that macchiato to stamp that top portion of the whipped cream. We are going to move on to our foliage. So again, I told you that I do not like masking, so I am going to wing this, trying to make this a mostly single layer card. So I'm starting with these wisps of pine and I'm inking them with seafoam. If you wanted a little bit more dimension with this foliage, you could use two different ink colors and maybe a finger dauber and add the darker color towards the bottom where the glass is and lighten it up towards the top. I went again with that simple stamping, so I'm only adding the one color. I added two of those sprigs to the left side and then I'm adding it to the right, again stamping it twice, making sure that I get that depth of color. I want to overlay my foliage, so I have this pine needle stamp and I'm going to stamp it with spruce ink, which is going to be my darkest green. Finally, I'm going to add a little wisp to the bottom right of the coffee mug, and I'm going to ink that with a blue-green, which is Skylight. So I have three different greens that's going on that is going to add a little bit more realistic appearance to my card. I want to add the sprinkles. I didn't add it to the whipped cream and I wanted them to be more of a pumpkin sprinkle. So I am going to add these little dots and it just follows the line of the swirl with some ginger ink. And when I add the ginger ink, I decide that this card is looking a little bit more Christmas in appearance than fall. So I'm going to use that ginger ink to give the sentiment, which says all things warm and wonderful, that nice rich fall tone. So this is really going to change the mood of the card from Christmas into fall. And then I'll use the macchiato ink and the first part of the sentiment that says autumn is. And so I'll ink up that autumn is with the macchiato and my sentiment will say autumn is all things warm and wonderful, which I think is a true expression. Once the leaves fall and the weather starts really getting chilly, sitting in front of a fire, drinking a hot cocoa or a cappuccino is really one of the most wonderful things I think about fall. So Amy's card did have the top layer lifted up using foam tape. It was cut a slightly smaller than her base layer, so I'm trimming mine down to 4 by 5¼ inches. I will add foam tape to it off camera. I'm just trying to figure out which is the best way. The height was where I was struggling to get this cut down. I have this pumpkin spice paper from the Not Too Shabby shop. I cut that plaid one out. It's 4¼ by 5½ inches, the same size as my card base. And I use the Misty to align my papers together. I've added that foam tape to our stamped layer and I'm going to center that over the top and that will complete my card for today. So here's a look at Amy's card, a look at my card. I hope that you will play along with us and use the hashtag #IWasOhSoInspired. Make sure that you check out the other creators so that you can see all of the inspiration that came from Amy's piece. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time, have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.